Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 306 Fantasy Football Podcast. We're recording here on Tuesday, August 15th for our episode number 91. And this week we're doing something we haven't done before. We're going to be mixing things up here, and we're going to be doing a mock draft episode. Just going into the draft season here. It's right around the corner. It seems like, 2-3 weeks away here. We'll be firing up football season. So right away, our draft season will be just right around the corner. So with this one, I guess I can get into a little bit of details after, but we're going to be doing a little bit different. We're not going to have the quick question of the week, and we're also not going to have an ice cold hot take just to try and preserve a little time. We'll go over a little bit of news and notes in our insiders and headliners just from the last little week here as preseason football started. And then we're going to get right into our mock draft. But before we get started, we'll say hello to the fellas and see how everybody's been doing here and soaking in the sun on our last couple days of summer holidays. Zach, what's been keeping you busy?
You know what? Not too much. My wife and I celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary last week, so that was nice. That was probably the biggest event in my life the past couple of weeks for sure. So nothing too crazy going on.
Armand, how about yourself?
Well, last game of rugby this season for me is on Wednesday, and then because high school football firing up here next week, I'll be done with the rugby for the rest of the fall, but excited to hit the pitch one more time. And my ribs are finally healed up enough. Last week I played in a game and went through relatively unscathed. Ribs still a little sore, but now I feel like this week I can hit guys with my full force and not hold back at all this week.
Nice. Yeah, my lacrosse season is like right around the corner. I think it's the 27th, I think we fire up. So I guess right around the corner. But we had our donation. Was it last week we did that? I think maybe 1 week ago we ended up doing that, but it was nice to be able to finally get down to the Jim Passon Children's Hospital, and then we went for a nice little bite to eat and stuff. But I literally this morning I woke up at 6 and I started doing my shingles. I'm taking a break right now. Like I had to go shower because it's covered in like the dirt and the fiberglass and crap. But taking a quick break to record, so I'm going to try and make this episode as long as possible so I don't have to go back on the roof anytime soon here. But yeah, it's been a grind going back to work here on Thursday. So
we should have recorded yesterday when it was plus 30 for you, Jordan.
Yeah, well, no, because then I'd be up on the roof grinding right now. It'd been terrible, but so is life. Go through a couple of insiders and headliners here. We got a couple of signings, a couple of injuries, and then we'll get right into our mock draft.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
So the first signing came almost, I'd say, out of left field. And then the second one has been like almost the worst kept secret for the last like 3.5 weeks. Zeke Elliot signs a 1-year deal that is worth up to $6 million with the New England Patriots. And the second signing was Dalvin Cook signed the 1-year deal worth up to $8.6 million with the New York Jets. So that one we've been kind of hearing rumors about for I don't know how long, 3-4 weeks, but the Patriots one kind of came out of left field, but I know nobody has their ear to the ground on the beat reports for New England, like anybody like Zach. So Zach, was this one that you kind of heard some murmurs about before it actually came out, or all of a sudden it was boom, Zeke showing up?
No, this one wasn't a huge surprise for me. Certainly the running back room has been a concern among the Patriot faithful on Twitter there. And they had Zeke in for a visit, I want to say 2 weekends ago. I think his visit with the Pats kind of coincided with Dalvin Cook's visit with the Jets. So Zeke signing, maybe when he did, was a little bit surprising. There was some speculation they might wait until after the preseason, especially I think it has to be after preseason in order for his contract not to be guaranteed. So there's some speculation they might wait until week 1 to bring him in so that his contract wasn't guaranteed, or the guarantees weren't guaranteed, I guess. But when it happened, I was surprised, but not floored, I guess.
Yeah, they had, I can't remember who else they had. I think they had Oh man, help me out, Zach. Who else did they have in for? They didn't have Hunt, but they had somebody else, right?
They had Fournette,
Fournette. Yeah,
friend of the show, Fournetter.
Fournette.
They had him in maybe a week or two before they had Zeke in, so maybe going back a month.
Yeah, and then like Hunt's been bopping around too. I know he was with the Saints, and then he showed up from the Saints to
Went to Indy.
Indianapolis, and then following that, he was visiting the Vikings. So then we thought, okay, maybe with the Saints with their injury, they're going to end up. He's going to go there, but he ended up. They signed Darrell Williams. That's minor signing, but if you're kind of following around where Hunt might end up, obviously the Saints now getting a signing after the following the injury of their rookie running back, their Kendre Miller, makes things a little bit more interesting. Couple other small things we can go through here rather quickly. The Jets activated Breece Hall off the PUP, so he'll be activated to start practicing here in the next little bit. Mike Gesicki suffered a mild dislocated shoulder. I think he was kind of almost off everybody's draft list unless you're in a really deep tight end league. Armand's darling there, Justin Ross, left practice. That was this morning here after being carted off, so we'll kind of get a little bit more information as the day progresses for that one. Terrace Marshall carted off practice, same thing, probably undrafted. For the most part, J.K. Dobbins being activated off the pups. We'll see if he actually reports to camp now, because he's kind of was doing like a little holdout type thing, contract stuff. So if you're planning on drafting him or have him in Dynasty, I know you've been paying a lot close attention to JK, not only on his health of his leg, but also the the contract dispute as well too there. But other than that, not a whole heck of a lot to talk about here. We got, like I mentioned, Kareem Hunt visiting the Vikings. So as we're doing our mock draft today, we got a lot of like speculations. I know we did our charity draft, like our European charity draft. Armand and I just finished, I don't know, 3 days ago, and Zach finished about a week ago. There's a lot of people drafting, Fournette, Hunt, Zeke, Cook, all people who had unsigned at that point were still free agents. So as we're doing our mock draft, I'm sure there'll be some names that are still free agents that might be are drafted in this mock draft as well too. But anything to talk about the Dalvin Cook? Either you guys have anything to mention there as between Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall, or what your expectations are, or should we just get right into things?
I'm good to go.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's get into it. It's hard to predict that Dalvin Cook Breece Hall at this moment yet, I think.
So this is gonna be a fun one. It's not just your standard mock draft. Obviously, we highly recommend people, as you're entering your fantasy season, when you figure out where your team is. So say, for example, your 12-team league, you're going to be in draft spot 8. Mock draft the heck out of spot 8 and have fun with it. Be creative, because then you can figure out, if this player goes, what's my pivot point? What does my team look like? I know there's years where I've mock drafted late in drafts the same guy over and over and over and over and over, because you just presume you're going to get him, and then all of a sudden you get in your draft and, oh crap, somebody took him earlier than expected, and then you pivot in draft and there's that little bit of panic. But mock drafting definitely helps you a lot. But we're going to do 3 different types of drafts. One that was very popular many years ago was the 0 RB. That has now also kind of pivoted into, it's called like a hero RB. So 2 very popular drafts, especially with the increase of the wide receivers over the last couple of years. And then I'm going to do a kind of a balanced approach, if not maybe take a onesie, depending on how the draft falls here. So Zach, he's going to be doing the 0 RB, and then Armand is going to be doing the hero RB. Zach is out of the 101, Armand is out of the 105. And I'm going to try and do a balanced approach at the 110 position. So we're going to go through these kind of quickly. Obviously, we're not going to talk in depth about every single pick, but we'll kind of talk about, from the approach we're at, where we're at in draft, and then the names that, are kind of in that realm to kind of give you an idea of the draft. So without further ado, we'll start the draft off with the 101. Zach is on the clock.
So I think if you're in this spot come draft season, the choices are kind of down to 2 guys in my mind, maybe 3 guys, regardless of your strategy. That being Jefferson, McCaffrey, or if you're feeling risky, maybe Jamar Chase. And I'm definitely leaning this year more so than any other year going wide receiver if I end up in the 101. So I'll be taking Justin Jefferson with the 101.
So Jefferson goes, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler, Christian McCaffrey. So with Armand here doing a hero RB, if who was the name you were obviously hoping for the best? Would that be McCaffrey? Or I can't remember if you were out on him last year, not Armand.
Yeah, I was out on him last year. I'm not fully on board with him this year. I actually like with Eckler and McCaffrey. I think I actually like who I'm gonna pick here more. And that is Saquon. I think Barkley is primed for a great season in New York. They showed last year with Brian Daboll that they had a little bit of bite to them, and the offense runs through Barkley, and then hopefully their increased efficiency in the pass game will hopefully open things up a little bit more for Barkley as well. So I'm going to Barkley. I like him this year a lot, actually. Another consideration at this 105 spot was Bijan. So if you're going hero RB and you're in the 5th spot and maybe 3 RBs of Eckler, McCaffrey, and Saquon all go before, you could go Bijan. And even a dark horse of Nick Chubb is intriguing because of his upside this year. He's primed for the best season of his career without Hunt behind him anymore. So we might actually see some passing down work, and but I think Barkley, especially with hero RB being the strategy, is the safest hero RB to go with.
Yeah, one thing I should mention here is that this is a half point PPR 12-team league with 3 wide receivers and 1 flex. Half point PPR is our favorite standard league. Whether we're in the 10-point or a 10-team league, or in some 12s, whereas a 14-team league, still all of them are half points. Those are our favorites. Playing around with them, the amount of wide receivers, it's actually going to play in the hands, I think, of Zach and Armand's strategy a little bit better here with the 0 RB or hero RB needing 3 wide receivers, but we'll see how things go here. Following Armand's pick of Saquon was Travis Kelce, then Cooper Kupp, and then the noted Robinson already, following Bijan Robinson there. And then a little bit surprised was CeeDee Lamb. So I was sitting here hoping that, either Tyreek or Stephon Diggs, those were kind of the 2 names that I figured were going to end up. I do have Tyreek higher than Stephon Diggs. I do like Diggs a lot, but Tyreek is going to be my pick. And I'm looking at kind of who's coming back. We'll see. It's AJ Brown goes, then Jonathan Taylor, Stephon Diggs, then Josh Jacobs. So going my balanced approach here, I could go with a wide receiver RB stack. I got some really nice wide receivers that are further down the list too, and I can maybe come back with my running back in the 3rd round. But Armand started talking about Nick Chubb a little bit there. Derrick Henry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who it's hard not to make my homer pick in half point PPRs and going Amon-Ra, but I think I'm going to go with my higher rated Nick Chubb here. And I'm going to go with a balanced approach. Then goes Derrick Henry, first quarterback off the boards with Patrick Mahomes, then Devontae Adams, then Amon-Ra St. Brown, and now we have Armand back on the clock.
That's unfortunate. I was hoping I'd get Amon-Ra here. So now looking at it, I did my hero, and if I'm sticking true to the strategy now, what Sleeper's showing me ADP wise is receiver wise, I could go Wilson or Waddle. I could go QB Allen or Hurts, and then tight end Mark Andrews. I'm gonna go with receiver here and try and get a top end wide receiver, and hopefully either one of the top end QBs or tight ends are still available in the 3rd round here. So I'm gonna go with Garrett Wilson.
So Armand goes with Garrett Wilson. Tony Pollard follows. Then Jalen Hurts, the 2nd quarterback off the board at the 210. Ramondre Stevenson at the 211 goes. And now Zach with the back-to-back picks. So the 212 and the 301, Zach gets to go back-to-back.
So here at the 212, I guess, and then the 301. I do have some interesting choices here, kind of like Armand had alluded to earlier. There is still some interesting quarterbacks, primarily Josh Allen. Tight end Mark Andrews is interesting. If I was so inclined with the upside of, say, like Lamar Jackson, I could go there as well. But going with where I think the most value lies, I really want to load up on my wide receivers. I can get 3 of them in my starting lineup for sure, plus 1 in the flex. And this being a half point PPR league, I do want to lean into that a little bit. If there was skewed points towards a tight end, I may be inclined to go Mark Andrews here, but I'm really going to go with the youth at the wide receiver position. I'm looking at Jalen Waddle here at the 212, and then I'm going to go with who's somebody I think is going to really blow up this year. He already had a really successful rookie season in New Orleans, and this year with a much more competent quarterback, not a converted tight end behind center, not a ginger, not crab legs, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, with maybe the biggest arms I've ever seen on a quarterback, not named Tim Tebow. I'm going to go with Chris Olave as my wide receiver 3. Somebody that I think could be a wide receiver 1 this year, and having him as my wide receiver 3, I am very pleased with.
Yeah, Zach's start so far is looking real nice. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, and then Chris Olave. Following Olave goes QB number 3, Josh Allen, early 3rd, and Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, which brings Armand on the clock at 3:05.
All right. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at a probably receiver here. Again, kind of similar to Zach with his 0 RB, the hero RB. I kind of want to fill up my receiver slots first, and then pick up the QB and the tight end when there's a good value available. I don't mind Mark Andrews here, but I'm gonna wait and see what other tight ends can fall to me later. And I am looking down the board. And actually, this is where I'm going to pick a guy that I mentioned earlier this year in the pod, because he's not going to fall to me in the next round, I don't think. And that's Calvin Ridley. Going a little bit of a reach, but I think he'll be worth it this year.
Yeah, so Calvin Ridley goes at 3:05, followed by Breece Hall, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, and 1 pick before me, Mark Andrews. I think, if I can get Mark Andrews in the 310, that might be an absolute steal and a borderline auto pick, but it didn't happen. So taking the balanced approach here, I have 1 wide receiver, 1 running back. I can really go at all angles. I do want a top tier quarterback, but I do think jumping on like a Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson in the 3rd is still a little bit rich. Maybe in the 4th coming back, or maybe depending on how the board goes, I might even hold off until the 5th. So I'm looking at like a DK Metcalf. I could take a jump at a Jamar Gibbs late in the 3rd, who's been climbing up draft board substantially. There's a Deebo Samuel, Kenneth Walker coming off the injury, Joe Mixon. Those are names kind of all in this board. To me, if I'm taking this balanced approach, I got a really, really good wide receiver 1 at Tyreek Hill. I need multiple of them. So I think DK Metcalf in this situation is a nice addition to this balanced team, especially because the way I have him projected is he's going to come down with the touchdowns that he struggled with last season in the red zone. So looking at the names there, I think DK is the best approach to add here with a balanced approach. Following Metcalf goes Joe Burrow, Deebo Samuel, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Jones, and I'm back on the clock. Now here's where, like I mentioned, there's a couple quarterbacks. I'd say there's probably 3 QBs. Yeah, there's 3 QBs that I'm okay leaving with. After that, I'm kind of just scrapping the board and probably going to just take a flyer late in the draft. But then now I can sit here and look at, okay, who are some running backs that I want to add to keep this balance? I've got 2 wide receivers. I can go running back, or I can go with like a Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper type wide receiver. I mentioned the Jahmyr Gibbs earlier. I think that's a really high upside. I have a safe Nick Chubb, so might as well take somebody that has unbelievable pass catching ability in a half-point PPR league with a safe running back. I compare him with a little bit of a riskier pick, but in the 4th round feels a little bit better than taking him in the 3rd. So I'm going to take a little homer pick with Jahmyr Gibbs. Following that goes Amari Cooper, Kenneth Walker, TJ Hawkinson, Keenan Allen, and Armand is back on the clock. Calvin Ridley might have made it back to you. You've been really flirting with it, but at least you got your guy.
Yeah, I had to go for my guy here, and now I'm looking at the receivers here and who's available at my next pick. I'm kind of liking those names a bit better than who I'm looking at right now, just due to some question marks and stuff like that. And then tight end, I think there's still a few guys that I don't mind in the next few rounds that are falling to me. So I'm actually looking at QB here because I think the advantage of picking Fields is gonna give me more points, a bigger point difference than any wide receiver that I pick here compared to the next round.
Yeah, big time rushing platform. And if he gets that jump forward in the passing ability, then that's going to be a real nice pick there sitting at the back end of the fourth. Following goes Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Hopkins, and then once again, we're back here with Zach with 2 picks back to back. He's sitting there with 3 wide receivers. So I imagine he's going to end up with a quarterback here, but we'll see if he stacks a 4 straight.
Oh, this is too bad. I was really hoping that Fields would fall to me when I heard Armand say that he was thinking of going wide receiver. Little shiver went down my back. I was thinking, oh, boys, we got her. On a side note here, I know nobody at home can see this, but Team 4, what are you doing, bud? You got four running backs here. I got Joe Mixon as my RB4.
We're in a 3 wide receiver league. They're going to be hurting.
So as was previously mentioned, I have my 3 starting receivers pretty well locked down here with Jefferson, Waddle, and Olave. I could go. I see Scary Terry McLaurin here, who would be my flex. He's somebody that, despite never having a really consistent, strong quarterback, has always done well. Whether it's been Fitzmagic, Taylor Heineke, I don't even know last year who he had. I think Jacoby Brissett's there this year. I don't know who he had last year. I know this year they have Sam Howell as well. So, I think Carson Wentz was there for a little bit, maybe
and then Heineke
last year, 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, it was Wentz and Heineke.
It's really been a revolving door there of just mediocrity at the quarterback position. And despite it all, he's done really well. That is a bit of a gamble, though, I think, especially considering the other wide receivers that are here right now. So I guess without further ado here, I will view what was presumed, and I'll go with Justin Herbert. I was really hoping Fields was going to get to me, but I do think Herbert is certainly a better passer. And Fields, though, just has that added value on the ground. So I'll go with Herbert here at 412. And then this is somebody that this might come back and bite me. I'm not going to go with Scary Terry. I don't love the running backs that are here. Guys like Damian Pierce, J.K. Dobbins. Don't love that. Cam Akers. Oh boy, that's just a cocktail of unpredictable there. I am going to go with somebody that at this time next year, he could be a top 2 round pick, rather. Pardon me. I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I'm going to bank that his arrival is really going to help Justin Fields become that passer. So DJ Moore will be sliding into my flex position.
That steals your stack right there, Armand. Hey, was that who you had lined up?
Yeah, that is exactly who I had lined up. I was going to stack it there, and now I'm like,
I'll trade you right now, DJ Moore. DJ Moore right now for Wilson, who I can't get rid from me.
Following more.
After Zach was talking there, and I was looking at him like maybe I should have went Lawrence to get the stack with Ridley, but you know what? You win some, you lose some. So now
goes Terry McLaurin, Christian Watson. Then the 4th tight end off the board is George Kittle, which puts Armand on the clock here.
Yeah, and now I'm looking and staying true to the hero RB strategy. I got to take a wide receiver, tight end here. Some names on the board for me in this range are Judy, London, Pitts, Godwin, Goddard, Ayuk, and Mike Williams, and then Darren Waller. I'm looking at this, and tight end wise, I think the safest bet is Goddard. But then Pitts and Waller, I think in my mind, have a bit higher upside. Their ceiling's a little bit higher, so that's a tough choice between those three. So I think I'm gonna go one more round without a tight end and see which of those three fall to me. And hopefully I don't have all three of them picked before it comes back around. And I am instead going to take, it's between Judy and London for me, and I am going with Drake London.
No, I thought you were going to go Jerry Judy.
Yeah, it was a tough choice. I think
yes.
Drake London
I
has a
absolutely
higher ceiling.
love
Judy
it.
has never exploded for me, that I've seen. So
Pour one out to the draft gods. That was getting real flirty. My last quarterback that was worth drafting here was Trevor Lawrence, and there was a stretch there I was getting a little bit concerned because there was team 4 that's so unpredictable with their 4 RB stack apparently. Team 6, 7, 8, and 9. Oh, sorry, 8 had Mahomes. Sorry, 6, 7, and 9 did not have a quarterback that were all leading up after Armand's pick. And it went, he took London, then Pierce, Judy, Dobbins, Akers. So I end up putting Trevor Lawrence as a slam dunk. Don't talk about this. I've talked about Lawrence lots in the pod before. I think he's going to have a huge breakout season. And this time next year, we're going to be talking about Trevor Lawrence in those very early rounds. So I think he is the clear tier break for me. And I want to make sure I get one of those top, 8 quarterbacks. And this is an easy one. So I'm taking Lawrence, followed by Pitts, James Conner, Alexander Madison, DeAndre Swift at the 6-2. That's pretty rich for team 11. Then it puts me on the clock here, and my balanced approach, I'm a 2, 2, and 1. So I can really go anywhere at this point. 3 wide receiver makes it a little bit easier for me to go wide. I have 2 tight ends that are right in here that I really like. And I'm hoping that maybe one of them will end up making it back to me. But I do have a wide receiver here that I like and I think is going to have a really good season. Actually, there's 2, I should say. One is Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver from San Francisco 49ers. And the other is Marquez Brown, also known as Hollywood Brown. He's starting to go down my board a little bit now just because he is battling a bit of an injury. So he's further down my list. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe he might come back to me on the next round. So I'm going to take Brandon Ayuk here to continue my balanced approach. Alvin Kamara goes, Mike Williams, Dalvin Cook, Marquez Hollywood Brown goes 6-7. So that didn't really last all that long. And now Armand is on the clock here. No tight ends go. So he was already talking about it earlier. I can only imagine that is possibly where he's going to go here.
Yeah. And with 3 of the 4 teams not having a tight end yet, and 2 rounds to go here, I think I got to take one of Goddard or Waller at this point now. And it just comes down to who I like better. I think Waller has that higher ceiling. He's shown it in the past where he can really explode and get you a ton of points. Whereas Goddard hasn't really ever exploded in his career and shown a high ceiling, but he has a decent floor. But I'm going to go Waller and go 2 New York Giants.
For what it's worth, Waller would have been my pick too there, Armand. Pittman goes, then Goddard goes. So there's the 2 tight ends we're talking about. Chris Godwin at the 6-11, and Zach is on the board here with the 6-12 and 7-1 with some pretty juicy names still left on the board here. There's one that I'm curious is going to be an auto selection for him or not.
Geez, with that auto selection premonition, it's a lot of pressure that I have to live up to here.
I'm curious if it's going to be the right one, but you've already got 4 wide receivers, so I don't know if it'll be it or not. But
I could live with my guy there, team 4, and just go crazy wide receiver and just load it up here.
You'll make trades with him later.
Yeah, maybe. If I were to follow this strategy in an actual draft, this would be the spot where I'd be looking at getting some of these mid-round running backs, guys that for whatever reason have some question marks that I feel they need to answer. So here I'm going to look at some running backs. The first one I'm going to look at is Javonte Williams. It's been really promising, everything that's been coming out of Denver. All the reports, everything that's been spoken at press conferences, all very promising. And then the next one is Rachaad White. I do believe Rachaad White, though, did have a injury scare the other day. So before I go any further, survives a non-contact injury at practice, or suffers non-contact injury at practice. Walked off the sideline on his own power, received attention from the trainers. Well, we'll need to know a little bit more about that going forward in when it comes to real drafts. But as of right now, with the information that I have, I'm going to go with a couple of injury question marks at running back. I'm going to go with Javonte Williams and Rachaad White, and hope that the injury bug doesn't decimate my running backs too much.
Okay, so the auto pick you didn't take, which would have, like, for you it's been tough because that had been like your fifth wide receiver, so it'd been a little bit tougher. But in that range too, I thought you were going to be really considering David Montgomery as for, like, that's a really good zero RB, just because he might soak up a lot of Jamal Williams type red zone touchdowns. So that'd be a sneaky pick, but I'm sure Armand's probably going to take the guy I was talking about. But following Rachaad White goes Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Mike Evans, putting Arm on the clock at the 7:05.
Well, see, I got to stay true to the hero RB strategy here, and I need 4 wide receivers, one that's going to be my flex before I go back to the running back. So I got one more wide receiver to pick here, and I actually like who's in this range between Jackson Smith-Njigba, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, and then Tyler Lockett. Even like dark horse candidates of like Jahan Dotson and Treylon Burks or Kadarius Toney aren't too bad. But out of those 3 guys that I just listed, I think the guy who has the best chance to really explode this year is George Pickens. So I'm taking George Pickens.
I thought Tyler Lockett in the middle of the 7th is like the best value in fantasy football. I think he always is drafted between the 7th and 9th round and always finishes as like a top 20 wide receiver. It's unbelievable. But
yeah, I like his value here, and I was close to taking him. I'm just those question marks with Njigma. I think Pickens just has a little bit higher ceiling than Lockett this year, and I really like Pickens in the 7th round.
Them going back to back in wide receiver on this draft too is very interesting. But you went George Pickens, Tyler Lockett, Dak Prescott, David Montgomery goes, and then Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now I'm on the clock at the 7:10, and I can go just about any direction here. I've got all 3 wide receivers filled. I've got my 2 running backs filled. So basically I can either take my tight end or I start filling some flex and some bench spots here. There's some names where it's like, are you going to take your shot and you're going to try and swing for the ceiling, or are you going to try and take some safety? And there's one name, James Cook just still scares the hell out of me, even though he's like been praised out of camp unbelievably. Jordan Addison's really interesting here. I really like Jahan Dotson. I think there is a chance, it's weird because I'm kind of high on the Washington offense, even though I probably shouldn't be high on the Washington offense because I'm high on Terry and I'm high on Dotson. You know what? I'm gonna go Addison here because I don't think Addison will make it back to me, and I'm curious if Dotson does. So I'm gonna play a little bit of a game here. I'm gonna go Jordan Addison here. Take a bit of a swing with a rookie, with the Minnesota Vikings, and see what follows. So I go of course Dotson goes the next pick. Didn't work. I go Jordan Addison, then Jahan Dotson, James Cook, Isaiah Pacheco, and Treylon Burks goes. So this is kind of a tough spot because there's quite a few names further down the ADP list that I like, but I don't really feel like, you could get them in the 9th, 10th round. So I'm sitting here in a position where it's like, yeah, there's quite a few tight ends that I like are within the same breath, like the Pat Freiermuth, Evan Ingram, David Njoku. I'm happy with any of them. Then you got some names further down the list. You got Rashad Penny, Gabe Davis, Rashad Penny, man, Armand, the camp news on Rashad Penny lately has not been great. So I'm curious to hear that take after the pod and what you think of Rashad Penny going forward. But yeah, Quentin Johnson, and then kind of like a hodgepodge. I'm going to take a gamble. I'm going to go further down the ADP list here on a name that I really liked Zach made the case for it that this is going to be the best offense that they've had in a while, probably since Drew Brees. I'm going to go for a bounce back season with Michael Thomas. So I'm going to go a little bit down the draft board. His ADP is 100, so I'm a little bit higher on him. His average is at the 8.1. I'm right at the 8.3, so I guess I'm pretty similar. But I'm going with Michael Thomas, a bit of a gamble. So following that goes Tua Tagovailoa, Evan Ingram, who I thought maybe I'd take as my stack with Trevor Lawrence. He goes, then Antonio Gibson, Deshaun Watson, and I know Armand is kicking himself that he didn't get to go with Antonio Gibson as his RB number 2. But where are you going here at the 8-8, Armand?
Yeah, so following the hero RB strategy, your whole idea is you take one hero RB, then you fill your wide receivers, your flex with a wide receiver, your tight end, and your QB. And now I'm just going all in on any running backs who are left pretty well. And yeah, I was really hoping that Gibson would fall here. He's not a bad RB2 to have, I think, especially if you're doing the hero RB strategy. Unfortunately, he didn't fall. And what I have left here is now AJ Dillon, Rashad Penny, Zach Charbonnet. They all have question marks around them. And you know what? Even though you said the reports out of camp weren't good on Rashad Penny, I haven't seen those reports yet, and I was just trying to look them up. So you know what? I don't fully believe you yet, Carrier. So I'm going to take Rashad Penny. I like his boomer bust ability.
I would make a bet that he gets cut. That's my bet. I think Rashad Penny's getting cut. That might be a little bit on the other side. But he goes Penny. Then Kadarius Toney, Brandon Cooks, Zach Charbonnet was a name that I thought would be a sneaky one if he can make his way back. And then 8-12 and 9-1 is Zach once again back to back.
We can all hope that we find somebody that loves us the way Armand loves Rashad Penny.
Unforgivable love.
Frankly, the way Armand loves the running back position as a whole.
Which I was shocked he went hero RB. I thought maybe he was going to go like RB heavy or something. Nah, team 4 and Armand are having a little bromance.
Yeah, Armand's going to be like, I love that draft. That's the draft for me.
Yeah.
Actually, and they have Pittman and they have Toney. Like, all they need is one of the Seattle running backs, and Armand's just going to trade the entire draft for Team 4's draft.
Gonna risk it all.
Yeah.
I actually really like the Team 3 draft, and they went RB heavy off the bat. But they have Eckler, Hurts, Etienne, Sanders, Watson, Goddard. Looks pretty good to me.
So here, I do have all of my quote unquote starting players filled in. I have my quarterback. I have 2 running backs, which like but don't love. Have 3 receivers that I'm really happy with, and I have my flex filled. The only starting offensive position left here is tight end. I was really hoping that Ingram would fall to me, but he went a couple of picks ago at pick 805. And now I'm left with Freiermuth or Njoku. And that leaves me here. I could either take one of those 2, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth. If I didn't take one of those 2, I'd probably just end up hunting on the position and waiting until late in the draft and going with like a Laporta or maybe not even that. Like, I'd go way down there and really just wait in the weeds. A guy like Laporta, maybe a guy like Dolchich there in Denver, maybe somebody like Higbee, or the Musgrave there in Green Bay. But I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth. He finished as, I think, tight end 7 or 8 last year. And I think this offense is, wheels up for this offense. Hopefully with Kenny Pickett there behind center all season, they can get it going. So Freiermuth here at 8-12. And now I'm looking here. I can really go anyway. I can be water here. So don't love I don't love the running backs that I have. And I'm going to take somebody that I think could be a really boom play for me. He does have some competition in the backfield, but he got all the first team reps on Saturday in
I
their
hate you.
preseason game.
I hate you so
I'm
much.
taking Kahil Herbert.
Yeah, I hate you so much.
Yeah, buddy.
I was just staring at him, hoping he's gonna make it back. I was like, this would be an absolute slam dunk at the back of the ninth. And then you're like, oh yeah, he got all the first team reps. I was like, oh shit, he's not coming back. There's no way. Oh, that's super upsetting.
And
That
like
is super
Herbert here could be my RB1
Oh man,
by like week 2. Easy. Like if Williams or White flame out, especially if the news about White is worse than what I expect it to be, like Herbert could be RB1, RB2 easy on this team, and he could be really good.
oh,
Or
so
he could slide to like RB3 on the Bears,
yeah.
and I could be left with like freaking I don't even know who in like the late rounds.
When we do like our my guys and like our value picks and stuff, he's super in contention for a my guy, but if not, like he is like my dark horse value pick of the draft. Like I just don't want to leave drafts without him. And I was like, you know what, I'll play a gamble here, but it clearly didn't pay out. But anyhow, I'll stop crying here and we'll continue on our draft. And then David Njoku goes right after too. So my tight end, my 2 slam dunk picks, I thought I'd get one of them back. Obviously did not happen. Then AJ Dillon, Anthony Richardson goes to team 4, who finally gets their quarterback, which actually Anthony Richardson, who just recently named the starter in the 9th round, is kind of a sneaky pick for that team. But Armand's just got another reason to really, really like team 4. But team number 5, Armand's team is on the clock here at the 9-5. Armand's ready to make a pick.
All right, so loading up on RB, still looking at it, and I think the best upside left here is in this range, at least in ADP, is Brian Robinson. Otherwise, I'm looking at Jamal Williams, who might not be too bad of a pick considering what he did last year and the way things are starting to look a little bit in New Orleans. We got P. Ryan, who's not a bad pick either. The backup RB usually does decent with Sean Payton, but I like Robinson. He did fairly well in his rookie campaign, was fairly efficient, and you never know what Eric Bieniemy is probably thinking.
So Brian Robinson, then Quentin Johnson goes, Gabe Davis, Zay Flowers, Jamal Williams. So those 3 wide receivers, I was like pretty confident that maybe one of them would get back. And if they didn't, I had a contingency plan. I really do need another running back. I only have 2. So I was really, really hoping for Khalil Herbert, but I'm going to go. Oh man. Yeah, I'm going to go Devon A-Chain. Just the reports coming out of camp. And just his style of running back, like he's not a thumper by any stretch of the imagination, but in this range where I'm swinging for the fences with a running back, there isn't many guys left with the upside of Devon A-Chain. I'm looking at down the list, we're looking at Elijah Mitchell, who is clearly the RB2 in that backfield. Jerick McKinnon, which who knows what happens there. Condre Miller, who just got hurt, you know what I mean? Like then we're into the Tyler Algier. So the list is starting to get pretty dry, which is why I'm pretty pissed off about Khalil Herbert. But I'll take them on A-Chain here. I'll take A-Chain and see what ends up coming back. We got Juju Smith goes, then Samaje Perine, Kirk Cousins, Cortland Sutton. That's disappointing because that's kind of who I had lined up. And I'm back on the clock. Balanced approach here so far. The only position I need to fill is my tight end position. But like I said, if I didn't get one of those 3 names that were still left on the board, I was much the same as Zach. I was willing to just punt it. So now I'm looking to just continue bolster my roster. There's guys in this range like Jameson Williams, who still has a 6-game suspension to serve, who's still in this list. There's Rashad Bateman, Dalton Kincaid, who is an interesting pick at the tight end position if I was swinging for upside. I'm still going to wait a little bit, I think, and I'm going to go a little bit further down the list because there's still a couple tight ends I think would be fun to take. Zach named a handful of them, but oh my goodness, I'm going to take the whole time clock on this one, I think. I'm going to go with a wide receiver who's had some pretty good vibes coming out of camp. He just got nicked up though, so I got to get a little bit more information on him. I don't think they've come fully out and said what he got hurt with, but I'm going to go with Elijah Moore. I know we talked about him in the value picks the last episode or 2 episodes ago on a breakout campaign. Zach was quite high on him as a breakout candidate. So I'm going to jump on the Elijah Moore train with another, kind of a boomer bust wide receiver. This is one of those guys that within the first couple weeks, you'll see what you got in him and whether you can move on from him or drop him kind of thing. Dalton Kincaid goes the next pick, then Aaron Rodgers, Dalton Schultz, and then Jameson Williams, as for mentioned. Now Armand is on the clock. 10:08. I think you got like three or four positional players left, and then we have the kicker and defense to wrap things up.
Yeah. So continuing loading up on RBs like the strategy suggests here. So my 3 RBs in this range are Damian Harris, Elijah Mitchell, and Jerick McKinnon. And out of those 3, I like Mitchell and McKinnon the best. Mitchell has shown that he does have some standalone value when McCaffrey's in. But I think I'm going to go with McKinnon here because of how he finished last season. You never know, maybe they'll continue using him in that nature for this season as well.
Yeah, 10th round for the guy that like won fantasy championships last year is kind of sneaky. I thought about him, especially in a half-point PPR league, the 10th round. I mean, you're throwing rocks, right? It's a hope and a prayer, but if he is anything what he was to finish the season last year, that's a real good pick. OBJ goes to follow the Rashad Bateman. Interesting. Same team go back-to-back, literally back-to-back wide receivers and back-to-back picks. Then Damian Harris and Zach is on the clock with his 10th and 11th pick.
It's a real shame here. I was looking forward to hopefully getting Jerick McKinnon as another running back to kind of give a little bit more stability to this rocky running back room here that I've acquired.
He seems like the perfect 0 RB target.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. Somebody that isn't going to get you, consistently like 15 or more, but you can probably count on like 8 to 12 pretty easily in a half point or certainly in a full PPR setting. So here, like we mentioned earlier, my skill positions are completely filled. I have my queue. I have 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and a tight end. So at this point, it's kind of just like best player available. I don't think I'll be going with one of the tight ends here. Cole Kmet might have been interesting, actually, had I not gotten Freiermuth where I did. I don't know if I love the idea, though, of pairing Kmet and DJ Moore, just with the passing game there, with Fields not being not being his strong suit.
Yeah, stop speaking Kmet into existence, please. Thank you.
So I want to take a player here that I think will be significantly better this year than he was last year. That is to do with just more experience in the NFL, and then also having kind of that room that he's in, that positional group that he's in on his team kind of clear up a little bit. And that's going to be Sky Moore, wide receiver for the Chiefs. He could very well be wide receiver number 1 on that team. So I'll take Sky Moore here at 10-12 and really bank on him to develop and get a lot more playing time than he did last year. And now here at 11:01, I'm not in love here with anybody that's on this list. And I might get real dangerous here. And I might go with somebody that could, it's certainly going to be a reach, but I don't want to lose him. And I'm sure I could get him in a round, probably 2 rounds here. But that's Roschon Johnson, running back for the Chicago Bears. If Herbert isn't the running back in Chicago, it's because Roschon Johnson is. I am not afraid of Foreman. He is just a jag. He's a journeyman. Roschon Johnson, though, sneaky pick to be offensive rookie of the year. If you put money on that right now, you're probably making some real bank here at the end of the year if he pans out.
Just say bear with me. I might be able to pull it up here, but Roschon Johnson goes, Elijah Mitchell, then falling to Alan Lazard and Devin Singletary. Singletary goes. That sucks. I thought that would be a nice little dark horse sleeper pick, but Armand, you're on the clock with your 11th round pick.
All right. So the RBs at this range are Miller, Algier, and Foreman. And you know what? I think I'm gonna continue that trend with the Chicago backfield and just get the third one here and get Foreman. You never know. He could pan out to be the number one guy there. Nobody really knows at this point who is going to be the Chicago Bears number one running back. And hopefully you just walk away from the draft with one of them. And if you don't have one of them, then you hope all three guys that drafted Chicago Bears running backs end up getting sandbagged and it being a RBBC.
Well, Zach, you helped me dodge a bullet there, buddy. Following that goes Geno Smith, Adam Thielen, Chiga Okonkwo, and then Jacoby Myers. So I am happy and pleased to take Cole Kmet. I think he has a significant high upside, especially if, like Zach was previously talking about with DJ Moore a little bit, is hoping that the passing comes along a little bit more with Justin Fields. Cole Kmet was one of the major targets in the red zone last year for him. So if the passing comes along, hopefully he continues that dominance in the red zone. And I don't have any other pieces in Chicago, so I can just go all in with the tight end position there. Like I said, left over that, it'd be like Greg Dulcich. There'd be Tyler Higbee, who I'm a little bit interested in a round and a half later, but I still think Cole Kmet has the higher upside here. So I'm going to go Cole Kmet, easy pick. Miller goes following that, Tyler Higbee right after. Then we got Tyler Boyd, Daniel Jones, and I'm back on the clock. Now, you're in the realms of like backups and dart throws and swinging for upsides. And there's a couple guys that I like with some standalone value. Like you got a guy like Zeke, who is going to be probably good, not great. He'll eat into some of the Ramondre's catching ability, maybe even some goal line, but I don't think he's going to carry a lot of load between the 20s. But in this realm, if he's the goal line guy, then that might become a valuable pick for here in the 12th round. We're at the end of the drafts. Then you have a couple other names that like Tank Bigsby, who's getting a little bit of hype for this preseason. But then you have another name like Jalen Warren, and we've talked about him having standalone value for Pittsburgh. And not that Najee Harris isn't the one, but I think that Jalen Warren could eat into that and even have steal away some of the receiving work. So those are the kind of the names that I'm looking at here. I need to bolster my running back a little bit. And oh man, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is because I do think that Jalen Warren is going to have standalone value. And I am going to take Jalen Warren here at the 2-3. The 12-3, sorry. Tyler Algier goes, then Darnell Mooney, Jared Goff, and then Raheem Mostert. And now Armand is on the clock. We have he has 4 picks remaining. I have 3 picks, so I have 1 pick left, and then my kicker and defense. Armand has 2, his kicker and defense, and same with Zach. So Armand on the clock with its 12-8.
All right. Yeah, I'm looking at these running backs again, and some names that pop out to me actually are Gus Edwards and Jerome Ford, because they're both looking at a good workload in their respective offenses. Edwards, I think, is a bit bigger than Dobbins, so he might get the goal line work in Baltimore there. Even though he might get nerfed a little bit by Jackson, and then Dobbins has always had injury concerns, so Gus Edwards could end up getting a lot of work. And then Jerome Ford, if you're not buying into Nick Chubb getting all the work that Kareem Hunt had, Jerome Ford might be poised to make a huge leap here in year 2, number 2 for him. So I am going to end up taking Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards goes, then Dulcich and Laporta following, Russ Wilson, and Zach is on the clock for his last 2 positional picks.
kind of like you mentioned, Jordan, at this point in the draft, especially with your backups, you're kind of going for upside guys that you think could perform way outside of their draft spot. So I'm looking at a trio here of young players, Rice, Mingo, and Romeo Dobbs, primarily all receivers. And I think looking at that Carolina offense, there's guys like Thielen, guys like DJ Chark. I think we know what they are. We certainly know what they have done in the NFL, but we don't know much about Mingo. Big body. It took him early in the second round, so I'm going to go with Jonathan Mingo here at 12-12. And he's somebody after a few weeks, if he hasn't panned out, I don't feel bad about cutting him and taking somebody from the waiver wire. So knowing full well that at this point, the rookie might produce soon or he might not produce at all. And then the other player that I'm going to take, and this one is somebody that I do have, cautious optimism about. It's really going to depend on how his quarterback plays, and that's Romeo Dobbs at 1301.
Those nice picks. Tank Bigsby follows Bryce Young, Rashee Rice, and Armand is on the clock for his last positional pick.
All right. I'm still sticking true to the strategy here. So my last positional pick is a running back still. And Jerome Ford is still available. So I think I got to take him because he does have that potential, like Zach said, to outperform his ADP. And you should know pretty quickly whether they're actually going to use him in that offense or not.
Zeke Elliot drafted in the middle to late 13th round. Like how the mighty have fallen. He was still like a second or third round pick last year. Now he's a second or third to last round pick. Following Zeke goes McPherson as the first kicker, Rondale Moore, then Kyler Murray. That's a sneaky little pick because you might be able to put him on your IR depending on your league settings, and then have Kyler coming back in week 3-4 with like almost your very last pick. It's a bit sneaky. Gerald Everett's another tight end name I should have thrown out there that I would kind of been liking a little bit, just from obviously how high I am on the Chargers offense. But this last pick is an easy one for me. I'm going to take Zay Jones, someone who had a little bit of upside last season. It completes my stack a little bit too with my quarterback, but same as Zach had mentioned, I'm going to go pretty quick whether I can drop him or not. We still don't 100% know what we have in Calvin Ridley. I can say he's probably going to be better than Zay Jones, but it might be a little bit more of a committee, and Zay Jones might still solidify himself as that 2 in that offense. So maybe Christian Kirk is the one that is the odd man out depending on the offensive scheme. But if week 1 Zay Jones is nothing, I know I can drop him and make a waiver wire claim pretty quick. So I'm going to take Zay Jones from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then Buffalo Bills defense goes, then the Eagles defense, then Everett, then Justin Tucker. Now filling out my team. I just need to grab a kicker and a defense here. I guess I'm on the turn, so I can grab one of the earlier ones. Doesn't matter a whole heck of a lot here, but one team. Oh boy, that's a ways down the list. I got to figure out here how to. Usually, I just punt it to the last and grab whoever's first on the ADP. But who the 49ers play? They steal. But I'm kind of interested in the Commanders. They play the Cardinals week 1, and if they have no, it's gonna be like a rookie or some junk quarterback. So I'll just go with I'll go Harrison Butker just because I think he's a better kicker. I'll take the good kicker, and then I think there's a couple defenses I like that'll come back. 49ers go, then Ravens, Cowboys. Carlson, Armand, who you taking, a kicker or defense?
Ooh, I think I gotta take a defense because they seem to be going on a run here, and I kind of want to still get a decent defense. I'm looking at the Jets here, although the start of the year kind of sucks for them. End of the year might not be too bad, but I might have dropped them by that point already. So I'm actually gonna go with let's go Seahawks defense. They got the Rams, Detroit, Carolina, New York Giants to start the year. The worst one there is Detroit, and then the Giants isn't great. And then I'll pick up a streaming defense later on.
Then goes Tyler Bass, Youngwei Koo, Zach. Who are you rapid firing here for your picks?
If this was an actual draft, I would make sure that the settings or the league or however you want to phrase it lets this happen. But there's no chance that I'm picking a defense or a kicker. I am just going to take a couple of dart throws on skill guys, and then wait until the Thursday of week one, maybe like the Friday, Saturday of week one, and end up dropping two guys and then picking up a kicker and a defense. But we'll keep it fair here. I love the Pats. I love the Pats defense, but they have a absolute gauntlet to start the regular season. But who doesn't have a gauntlet to start the regular season are the New Orleans Saints. They play Tennessee, Carolina, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, New England, and Houston for the first 6 weeks.
They don't see a top 12 quarterback until like week 12 or something like that.
Well, they see
Lawrence
in week 7.
Okay, and then is it Kirk Cousins they see in week 12 or something like that?
They see Cousins in week 10, and they play Fields in week 9.
Okay, so those would be the best quarterbacks they see. I was looking at that. It's unbelievable their schedule they got. If they don't win the division, they did something really, really wrong.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the Saints defense here. Hopefully old man Cam Jordan can get some sacks for me. That'd be sweet. And then my kicker, I'm going to take Jake Elliott. He's the kicker on arguably the best offense in the NFL, at least top 2 offenses in the NFL. So that means lots of good things for their kicker. So Jake Elliott, come on down.
And Miami's defense goes, the Patriots defense goes, Sanders goes. Armand, which kicker are you taking?
Dicker the kicker. No, just kidding. I'm gonna take let's go Myers here from Seattle. He's Seattle's kicker. Actually, no, I'm tilting here. We're going McManus, Jacksonville's kicker.
Steelers defense goes Myers, Dicker the kicker. There it is, there, Armand. And I talked about how I liked Jacksonville's defense week 1. They're taking on a rookie quarterback against the Colts, but I'm going to take Washington here. They have a really nice first couple week schedule, and they play Arizona with depleted weapons. So that's a nice week 1 start. So wrapping on our teams here, Zach, take us through your roster here. You went the 0 RB. So run us a little bit through what your team ends up looking like if you go 0 RB, especially early on in drafts.
Yeah, so I waited until the end of the 6th to go with a running back. So I started the draft with Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, and Chris Olave, all 3 guys that could be top 12 wide receivers, and absolutely love that start. Took Herbert there at the end of the 4th. Honestly, probably could have waited until a lot later to get a good quarterback, but I did go with somebody that I think could be a great quarterback there in Herbert at the end of the 4th. DJ Moore, and then the middle part of the draft is kind of peppered the running back position. Javonte Williams in the 6th, Rashad White in the 7th, Khalil Herbert in the 9th, and then Roshan Johnson in the 11th. And then in between that, I took Pat Freiermuth and Sky Moore in the 8th and 10th, respectively. Took Mingo and Dobbs, 2 kind of boomer bust wide receivers in the 12th and 13th. And then those are guys that I don't feel bad cutting in week 2 or 3, whether it's for injuries or they're not producing. And then I finished the draft off with my defense with the Saints, a team that won't face too many good quarterbacks to start the year. And then Jake Elliott, a very productive kicker on a very potent offense.
Then Armand, you went, so a very similar approach, but it's called the Hero RB, where you take the big one off the hop, and then you kind of pile on all the other positions. So very similar to Zach's, just obviously one variation to it. And you want to run through your starting roster, or yes, your roster, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. So First round, I went Barkley, nice high upside running back. He's a great hero RB to have if you're doing the hero RB strategy, because he can put up a crap ton of points. Then I went Wilson, Garrett Wilson, who rookie of the year last year, and Calvin Ridley, who last pod I was talking his praises, and I'm looking forward to what he can do in Jacksonville this year, because he's been looking good so far in training camp, back to his old form. Clearly the wide receiver one in the offense that we have kind of talked about a bit. Lawrence bringing it to the next level this year. Then I went Justin Fields in the 4th round to get my QB, kind of trying to make sure that I locked in one of the top end QBs here, fantasy wise. Little bit of a regret here that I didn't actually stack Lawrence with Ridley though, especially when we're considering that jump. But I'm still happy with Fields. Then I took Drake London to be my 3rd wide receiver. Then Darren Waller for my tight end spot. Happy with what I got, because a few years ago, if you would have said you get Darren Waller in the 6th, you'd be pretty ecstatic with that. So hopefully he can reach back to that form he was back when we were drafting him as one of the top end tight ends in fantasy. Then in my flex position, I got George Pickens, which I'm pretty happy about. I think he's poised to build off his rookie campaign to make it even bigger. Then I went RB heavy. I went with the high upside of Rashad Penny. If he's not injured, he's putting up fantasy points like crazy. Then Brian Robinson with the Washington Commanders as my RB3. Then Jerick McKinnon as my RB4, who I'm just hoping that Kansas City continues to use him like they did last year. High upside there. And if he's not being used like he was last year, I don't feel bad cutting him. Then Deontay Foreman, who we should know fairly soon. Once I find out in week 1 who Chicago's actually using in their backfield, if it's not Foreman, I can cut him. Gus Edwards last or next with in the 12th round. Again, hopefully we're looking for that goal line work and seeing what he can do in that Baltimore offense. And then my last RB, Jerome Ford, just looking for that high upside, him replacing the Hunt role. If he doesn't take over that Hunt role, then I can drop him pretty quick. And then last, I rounded it out with the Seattle Seahawks defense and McManus as my kicker.
Looking at my roster, I think I would prefer doing my same approach from the middle rounds, maybe not so much from the background. But quarterback got Trevor Lawrence. Running backs, I got Nick Chubb and Jahmyr Gibbs in my starting lineup. Then my starting lineup receivers are Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, and Brandon Ayuk. Then I have Cole Kmet as my tight end, and then my flex, I have Jordan Addison, but many of these names could go in there. I got Michael Thomas, Devon A-Chain, Elijah Moore, Jalen Warren, and Zay Jones. And then Harrison Butker and Wash Commanders. Looking at mine, I'm thin at the running back. That would be my weakness. I'd probably, hindsight, I would have drafted Khalil Herbert instead of Michael Thomas and hope that Thomas maybe came back to me later on. And if he didn't, I could have kept going with the wide receiver. But, mistakes happen. That's why you mock draft and you look at your team after and realize, the middle of the 8th round isn't the greatest choice to, do whatever, right? So whatever your strategy is. But that'll wrap up our first official mock draft for our podcast here. I know I had a lot of fun doing it. We've done mock drafts before against each other, and we did it in prep for other drafts, but never actually on the podcast. But as we get started here into fantasy season, one announcement: we'll start taking names in for the charity league here. We're going to be doing some announcements on that on social media here on Thursday after the pod drops on Wednesday. And we have our jersey for the winner on arrival. It is currently being shipped. We have rookie 1st round draft pick Jackson Smith-Njigba signed rookie jersey for the winner for the charity league. So that'll be a fun one. We went big with the rookie one. Last year, the winner was the Jalen Waddle one, and that one worked out really, really well as well, too. So start getting your ideas thrown at us as the announcements will be coming. If you're interested, let us know, and we'll try and get as many people involved in the charity league as possible. But without further ado, on behalf of myself, Zach, and Armand, thank you everybody last year. Like I said, we finally got to make our official donation to our charity last year. So we finally got to do that here this last week. And we're going to start taking, charity or sort of donations and doing events for our upcoming charity this upcoming season as well too. So thank you very much for listening. Take care, everybody. And let's talk soon.